A third team was created with the enemies of NATO, and some of NATO's allies joined NATO's team, erupting the three-team WW3, NATO and allies vs the main crew versus NATO enemies. The main crew sent out the army of 5 million, with the original 43 as generals. NATO enemies were quickly obliterated, but they nuked the other two teams. Everybody on Earth died except for the main crew. About 2/3 of their army was killed, no generals were killed, so they cloned another 700 million super soldiers. All 702 million soldiers then combined into an ultra soldier. With Earth destroyed, the crew all went to an alternate universe. They were confused to see everybody on Earth there also dead, as they saw a 1 million foot tall lion with a crown, laser eyes and mouth, and the face of Adam Sandler. His deodorant then obliterated Adam Sandler, and absorbed his energy. They traveled in the multiverse, and absorbed every one of the infinite amount of universes. They then realized that there were infinite multiverses in the metaverse, and that there was more after that, so they gave up with that goal. They were then hired at their metaverse's local multiversal McDonald's by the higher-ups of the Sophovers, being paid the minimum wage of 14 an Ian. After a few weeks of being paid that low, they revolted, by turning into a monster truck ridden by Sir J. They demolished the building, and went to Galactic Jeff Bezos. They then turned him into a marketable plushie, and ripped the plushie into
4789784378974563467872067 to the power of 45678908643 pieces.
They then turned a universe into a spinning rat GIF, before entering another after making themselves smaller. Upon entering this universe, 14.5 feral Squidwards attacked them, and they noticed something horrifying. His deodorant decided that he had had enough, and so blew up the entire universe, including the crew, in an intense moment of pure evil and betrayal. Realizing the true intentions of his deodorant, Galactic Jeff Bezos 2.0, the sequel decided to revive the crew and keep them in his pocket dimension. He made it clear to them that he would help, but he then absorbed all of their powers, claiming it was for the best. Meanwhile, his deodorant went on a rampage, destroying 3456-898-9876 multiverses and absorbing their power, increasing his own exponentially. GFB2, TS then absorbed 10 billion multiverses, and from there they continuously gained more and more power, absorbing every multiverse they found. GFB2, TS also regenerated the crew's original universe, and that's what the pocket universe the crew is in was. In this pocket universe, they still did not have any powers. Then, Mrs. would immediately be arrested for 14 years of tax fraud for $70,000 and 10 years in prison. The crew would now have to break him out, so they slipped through the prison's air vents. A police officer would find them, but was actually okay with them and even offered to join them. As he hugged Sir J would stab him in the abdomen 167 times, before decimating him with an on-the-go Gatling gun. This would trigger the alarms, as the prison guard all came out, and beat up the crew. The clownfish, now having mastered his spontaneous combustion ability, would spontaneously combust, killing all the guards, but not him. Mrs. cell was broken from the blast, so they entered. They found that the explosion was too strong, so they found Mrs. disintegrated remains. Unsure of what to do, they took him and made Justin Bieber clone himself once more. They would then turn Mrs. into a liquid, and put him in the bloodstream of Justin Bieber 3. Justin Bieber 3 and Mrs. would now have to share a body, renamed to Justin Mrs. Bieber III, or Mr. Justin for short. Out of the blue, Justin Bieber's grandmother's old pet hyenas came back to Mr. J and joined the team. Sir J then decided to find his real parents. After a quick Google search, they found and flew to their retirement home in São Tomé and Príncipe. Upon confronting them, it was realized that they were mannequins. Suddenly, a Venezuelan SWAT team would appear, and the crew realized it was a trap. Leading them would be the now absolutely shredded parents of Sir J, who were actually the heads of the Venezuelan government. They hit the crew with blow darts, and they fell asleep. After they awoke, the crew would find themselves dumped in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, heavily weak and tired. They built a house and ate bugs for food, before signaling SOS. The police came, and just as they were happy, they were instantly arrested for the seemingly never-ending list of crimes committed in this universe from before. But, they were mysteriously bailed out by Sir J's parents. Sir J's parents would explain that they wanted to test the crew, so they went down in an elevator in the middle of nowhere. They entered their secret lab with the crew, and then pushed the crew into a room, before going down the hall next to the room. The room lit up, revealing a long obstacle course above lava, with several dangers such as swinging axes, spikes, the lava, and much more. They would have to make all of the jumps and dodge the dangers, or else they would die. They saw Sir J's parents at the end of the hall. They realized that they could just stay put, but then the wall behind them started to push them forwards, forcing them to complete the course. They made the first jump successfully, but an axe hit Justin Bieber off into the lava. They completed the rest of the obstacle course without difficulty and picked up Bieber's corpse as Sir J's parents revealed themselves to be under the control of his deodorant, and then were absorbed by his deodorant. Back in the science lab, Bieber was revived. But in the science lab, they would find that they had been running a simulation of Earth. In this simulation, long ago in ancient Egypt 4,000 years ago bandits destroyed the Great Sphinx's nose. The Great Sphinx was not amused with these dirty and filthy peasants, so it set a curse upon them. 1 hour later, the bandits suddenly died. Now the Great Sphinx was appeased, almost. Another hour later the bandits' remains suddenly disappeared. Much later their remains were found wrapped up in a tomb thrown by an unknown person suspected to be the Great Sphinx in the Nile River. After this little incident, nobody has ever messed with the Great Sphinx ever again, what the Great Sphinx thought. For you see the bandits' ghosts, with an army declared war upon all living Egyptians and the Great Sphinx. Everybody across the globe was shocked and the Sphinx was confused and terrified. After releasing this, the pharaoh fought hard against the ghost army, but soon the pyramids were annihilated and the Great Sphinx was breaking down. Soon after they surrendered, but over 300,000 Egyptians had passed in the war and the pharaoh was executed, leaving the ghosts in charge. The Egyptians wanted revenge, which triggered a revolution. Months later, the war was over in the rebels' favor. Now with an improved military they declared war. Then halfway through the Sphinx broke a promise and went into physical form. The ghosts were defeated after 30 years of battling. Then with this the power of the Sphinx's physical form, the newly formed Greater Egyptian Empire had conquered all of the continent of Africa. They went to Arabia and conquered it, taking out the Babylonians, Turks, Greeks and Persians in the process. Adding more to their power, they made an alliance with the Mongols. The ghosts were enraged. But the ghosts' abilities to come back to life were lost because of the Great Egyptian Ghost War. Back in Egypt, the Sphinx's physical form was unstoppable. The Egyptians treated him like royalty, and the pharaoh treated him like another ruler. Eventually, the Sphinx got tired and went back to a statue. The Egyptian Empire was a world power and everyone but the Mongols were frightened. The pyramids were repaired. They became so strong that they escaped colonization by the British Empire. Fought in both World War I and World War II and were a massive help to the Allies and Entente. In 2009, they joined the alliance of NATO. They also remained a world superpower from way back then. Ever since 2000 BC, the Great Egyptian Empire remained one of, if not the most powerful nations on Earth. Their land borders stretched from modern-day Pakistan in the east, the Gambia in the west, South Africa in the south, Bulgaria in the north, and not to mention tiny islands, disputed territories and colonies. It has the second biggest military just below the United States of America, and coming far above the Russian Federation, making it an extremely powerful force to mess with. So the point is, the Greater Egyptian Empire is a very powerful empire and the only empire that exists today. It has existed for 4,000 years. But then a rebellion came known as the South African War for Independence. The rebellion had nukes, but they never used them, so after 2.7 years of fighting the rebellion was put down. But Egypt had been greatly weakened after the war and Russia declared war. Which NATO and Russia's allies to fight along with many more countries starting World War III. North Korea was killed instantly, but China and Russia were a different story. By that they capitulated from being attacked from all sides and getting St. Petersburg, Moscow, Beijing, and Shanghai nuked. The peace deal gave the great Egyptian empire land in North Korea and China, and they got $400 billion USD. After World War III ended, the great Egyptian empire had the second biggest economy and military, both behind the United States of America.